Somewhere right now, someone is standing outside in the cold, in the rain, on a 5-minute break, just to do this. They know exactly what it does to them. They've read the warning. It's printed directly on the box they're holding. And they're going to do it anyway, in about 4 seconds. This isn't a willpower problem. This is one of the most successful chemical hijacks in human history, and it took thousands of years to perfect. Tobacco didn't start as a habit. It started as medicine. Indigenous peoples in the Americas used tobacco for thousands of years before Europeans ever saw it. In ceremonies, in healing rituals, and as a way to mark important moments. It wasn't smoked constantly the way it is now. It was occasional, ritual, and deliberate. Then, in 1492, a few Europeans showed up, tried it, and immediately thought, yes, more of this, all the time, forever. Tobacco was shipped back to Europe and spread shockingly fast. Within a century, it had reached nearly every part of the known world. For context, that's faster than indoor plumbing spread. Humanity prioritized this immediately. Part of why it spread so fast is that nicotine itself is genuinely chemically unusual. It's both a stimulant and a relaxant, depending on how you use it. A few seconds after inhaling, nicotine reaches the brain faster than almost any other commonly used drug, faster than if you injected it directly into a vein. Your brain doesn't even get a chance to think about it. By the time you've processed, that's fast, it's already there. Once there, nicotine binds to receptors that trigger a flood of dopamine, the same chemical involved in nearly every other reward your brain registers, which means your brain files a cigarette in the exact same folder as a good meal, a hug, and winning something. It does not see the difference. It never has. On top of that, nicotine briefly improves focus and reaction time in a way that's measurable, which is part of why it got tangled up with productivity and stress relief for so long. Nothing was actually being solved. Your brain was just temporarily very pleased about a problem it caused itself 20 minutes earlier. Here's where it turns from a nice feeling into a trap. Your brain adapts almost immediately and starts expecting that dopamine hit on a schedule. Receptors that respond to nicotine actually increase in number with repeated use. Your brain physically rebuilds itself to want more. Your brain looked at the situation and said, well, if this is happening regularly now, I should probably build more infrastructure for it. Incredible planning, tragic target. This is why the first cigarette of the day often feels the strongest. Overnight, without a hit, those extra receptors are sitting empty, all demanding attention at once. Within minutes of that first cigarette, all of them get filled at once, which is part of why it can feel disproportionately satisfying compared to every cigarette after it. Every cigarette after that first one is mostly just topping off a tank that never gets to stay full for long, since the body keeps metabolizing nicotine within a couple of hours. Once those receptors are built, taking nicotine away doesn't just remove a nice feeling, it creates an active, uncomfortable gap. This is the withdrawal loop. Irritability, restlessness, trouble focusing, all of which conveniently get solved the instant you smoke again, which means the relief you feel from lighting up isn't really a reward. It's mostly just your brain stopping the alarm it set off itself 20 minutes earlier. Researchers describe this as negative reinforcement. You're not smoking to feel good anymore. You're smoking to stop feeling bad. which is a deeply unflattering thing to learn about a 5-minute break you look forward to all day. This cycle typically repeats every couple of hours for a regular smoker, which adds up to dozens of small withdrawal and relief loops every single day, mostly unnoticed. On top of the chemistry, there's a second layer working at the same time: pure habit and ritual, completely separate from the nicotine itself. The same cup of coffee, the same step outside, the same conversation with the same coworker. Your brain links the cigarette to all of it automatically, which is why quitting isn't just about the nicotine. It's about somehow having coffee, walking outside, and talking to Dave from accounting, completely unsupervised. This is part of why nicotine replacement products alone often aren't enough. They handle the chemical gap, but not the habit loop built around it. You can solve the chemistry and still find yourself standing outside for no reason at 3 p.m., just vibrating slightly, missing a prop. Once the addictive mechanism was understood, the early tobacco industry didn't just sell a product, it engineered one. Manufacturing innovations in the 1800s made cigarettes cheap and fast to produce for the first time, turning an occasional ritual into a product you could buy by the pack. Humanity took something slow and ceremonial and said, actually, what if we could do this constantly and also put it in a little box with a logo? For most of the 20th century, advertising leaned directly into this. Doctors, athletes, and cartoon mascots were all used to market cigarettes as harmless, even healthy. It is deeply strange in retrospect that a doctor recommends this was ever a real advertising angle for a product that does this to your lungs. It took until the 1960s for major public health warnings to formally connect smoking to serious long-term harm in widely publicized reports. Internal industry research from that era, made public decades later through lawsuits, showed some companies understood the addictive mechanism in detail long before it was public knowledge, which reframes the whole thing slightly. It wasn't an accident that this became so hard to quit. Somebody at some point did the math on purpose. All of this, the fast chemical hit, the rebuilt receptors, the ritual layer, decades of normalization, is why quitting is genuinely difficult, not a matter of simply deciding to stop. Most people who successfully quit don't do it in one attempt. Multiple attempts are the normal pattern, not a sign of failure. Your brain spent years building infrastructure for this. It is not going to hand back the keys after one slightly inspired Tuesday. What actually helps, according to research, is addressing both layers at once, managing the physical withdrawal, and deliberately replacing the ritual triggers with something else. Support, structure, and time all measurably improve the odds, far more than willpower alone ever does. So that person standing outside in the rain on a 5-minute break, 4 seconds from lighting up, isn't weak and isn't stupid. They're up against 500 years of chemistry, marketing, and ritual that was specifically refined to be very, very hard to walk away from. It started as medicine. It became a ritual. It became a product. And somewhere in there, it became one of the hardest habits a human brain can let go of. None of that makes it unbeatable. It just makes it make sense, which, it turns out, is usually the first real step.